Hey there, fellow deep diver. Ready to plug into the world of AI? And no, we're not talking about evil robots taking over the world unless you're into that kind of thing. We've got a stack of articles here, everything from NASA to Wikipedia to Forbes, all about how AI is being used right now.
And the sheer range of applications is incredible. We're talking everything from space exploration to, well, we'll get to that.
All right, no spoilers. Speaking of space, though, one article that really caught my eye was about NASA using AI to develop new battery tech.
Mm.
I mean, you think NASA, you think rockets and astronauts, right? Not in silly batteries.
It seems like a weird fit at first, but it
Yeah.
makes sense. Think about it. Energy storage is a crucial factor in space exploration, but it's not just about powering spaceships.
Oh, what else then?
The technology they're developing could completely revolutionize how we store energy here on Earth. We're talking about tackling some of the biggest challenges we're facing with renewable energy and things like electric vehicles.
Okay, now that you mentioned it, even here on Earth, batteries are kind of the bottleneck, right? They're
Mm.
bulky, they don't always last long enough, and those lithium-ion ones, let's just say the sourcing of some of those materials can be a little ethically murky.
Exactly. And that's one of the most exciting things about how NASA is using AI in this project. Imagine being able to analyze every possible combination of elements to find materials that are more readily available, less toxic to produce, and far more efficient than what we have now.
Wait, so instead of those scientists running endless experiments in the lab, AI is basically doing it all virtually at lightning speed.
Exactly. It's like having a super-powered research assistant that can crunch numbers and analyze data nonstop without needing a coffee break.
That's mind-blowing. And to think, we often think of AI in terms of software and algorithms, but this is AI being used to advance actual physical technology.
And potentially revolutionizing a whole industry. Now it's not just about building better batteries, it's about what those better batteries could enable. Imagine a world where electric cars are cheaper, charge faster, and can travel farther than gasoline-powered cars, or homes powered entirely by solar energy stored in incredibly efficient batteries.
Okay, now you're getting me really excited about the future. But you mentioned that this NASA project is just the tip of the iceberg. So what else is out there in the world of AI?
Well, to answer that, we need to take a step back and ask, what exactly is AI? What are we even talking about when we use that term?
Because it's not just robots taking over the world. Those headlines always grab my attention.
Right. It can feel like every other week there's a new headline about some AI breakthrough or some new doomsday scenario involving superintelligent machines. But the reality is AI encompasses a vast spectrum of technologies and approaches.
So let's dive into that spectrum, because our stack also includes a deep dive courtesy of Wikipedia, and it gets into some pretty heady stuff, including different types of AI.
Exactly. When we talk about AI, it's important to distinguish between what we have now, which is often referred to as weak AI or narrow AI, and the more theoretical concept of strong AI or artificial general intelligence, also known as AGI.
Okay, so weak AI versus strong AI. Explain it to me like I'm still trying to remember what I learned or didn't learn back in school.
Think of weak AI as a specialist. It's incredibly good at one specific task, whether that's playing chess, recommending products you might like, or even composing music.
So like a chess-playing program that can beat a grandmaster but can't, say, write a grocery list.
Precisely. It excels in a very narrow domain. Now, strong AI, on the other hand, is more like the idea of a general-purpose intelligence like that of a human being.
So a single AI that could potentially write a screenplay, diagnose a medical condition, and beat you at a game of Go.
Exactly. It would be capable of understanding, learning, and applying knowledge across a wide range of tasks and domains, much like a human. However, it's important to emphasize that strong AI is still very much in the realm of science fiction.
Okay, phew. Because some of those sci-fi scenarios are a little intense. So we've got weak AI, which is already all around us, and strong AI, which is still a big question mark. Where does something like the Turing test fit into all of this? I've heard that term thrown around, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually means.
Ah, the Turing test. It's a classic. It was proposed by Alan Turing, a brilliant computer scientist, as a way to assess a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior.
Okay, so how does it work? Do we make the AI take an IQ test or something?
It's more about conversation. Imagine you're interacting with two entities, one human, one machine, but you can't see either of them. You can only communicate through text. If you can't reliably tell which one is the machine, then according to the Turing test, that machine could be considered intelligent.
So it's about whether a machine can mimic human conversation well enough to fool us.
Interesting, but wouldn't that just mean it's good at imitating, not necessarily thinking for itself?
You've hit on a key point. The Turing test has been both influential and controversial,
Hmm.
with many arguing that it doesn't actually measure true intelligence or consciousness, just the ability to simulate it. It's a
Hmm.
fascinating concept, but in many ways it reflects how complex and slippery the very definition of intelligence becomes when we start talking about machines.
So to be clear, just because Siri can tell me a joke doesn't mean it's about to wake up and demand equal rights. Not quite. But it does raise some fascinating questions because even though we haven't achieved anything close to strong AI, even the weak AI we have today is already raising some big questions and challenges. It's true. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we're starting to grapple with some of the bigger questions about its impact on society.
Yeah, and those questions are definitely in the mix with these articles. It's not all just cool new tech and futuristic possibilities. Things get a little serious.
To put it mildly, we're talking about some potentially major shifts, not just in how we live and work, but in how we think about ourselves and our place in the world.
Okay, well, let's unpack that a bit. I'm ready to go deep. But where do we even start?
Well, one of the most pressing concerns, and one that comes up repeatedly in these articles, is the issue of AI and the future of work.
All right, the whole robots are going to take our jobs thing. It feels like that's been the go-to sci-fi trope for decades. Is it really different this time around?
It's a question that's been around for centuries, actually, going back to the Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But the pace and scope of automation with AI are unprecedented. It's not just about machines replacing manual labor on factory floors anymore. We're talking about AI potentially automating tasks in fields like law medicine, even creative industries.
Okay, I get why people are nervous. It's one thing to hear about a robot arm assembling a car, but now we're talking about AI potentially writing legal briefs or even composing symphonies.
Exactly. And it raises all sorts of questions about what happens to those jobs and more broadly, what happens to the people who currently hold those jobs. Do we need to rethink education and job training? Do we need to consider new economic models like universal basic income to adapt to a world where certain types of work are increasingly done by machines?
It's almost like we need a whole new societal playbook to deal with this level of change.
In a way, yes. And it's not just about jobs being lost. Some experts argue that AI will create new jobs, ones we can't even imagine yet. But even then, there will be a period of adjustment as people adapt to these new roles and acquire new skills.
So it's not just about learning to code, it's about learning to adapt and thrive in a world where AI is increasingly part of the landscape.
Precisely. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of AI's impact, the ethical considerations.
Because it's one thing to teach an AI to play chess, but quite another to trust it with things like, say, making medical diagnoses or driving our cars.
Exactly. As we give AI systems more responsibility, we need to ensure they're aligned with our values. And that's not always as straightforward as it sounds.
Okay, give me an example. Where does the ethics part get complicated?
One example is algorithmic bias. AI systems are trained on massive amounts of data, and if that data reflects existing biases in our society, the AI can inherit those biases sometimes with unintended and harmful consequences.
So it's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. If an AI system is trained on data that's skewed in a certain direction, its output is likely to reflect that skew. We've already seen examples of this with facial recognition systems that are less accurate at identifying people of color or algorithms used in hiring processes that perpetuate gender imbalances.
Okay, so how do we solve for that? Do we just need to feed the AI better data?
It's not quite as simple as just swapping out the data. We need to be much more mindful of the data we use to train these systems and develop techniques to detect and mitigate bias throughout the AI development process. And it's not just about technical solutions. It requires open discussions and a diverse range of perspectives to ensure these systems are designed and used ethically and responsibly.
So it's about more than just lines of code. It's about having a broader conversation about values and societal impact.
Absolutely. And that conversation needs to involve not just AI experts and policymakers, but the public as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Because it's our future that's being shaped here. We all have a stake in how this technology unfolds.
exactly. And speaking of the future, these articles also touch on some of the more speculative, even philosophical implications of AI.
Oh yeah, like the possibility of a singularity event where AI surpasses human intelligence and, well, who knows what happens then?
It's definitely a topic that captures the imagination. But even if we set aside those more futuristic scenarios, there are still plenty of near-term questions we need to grapple with.
Like what? Give me a for instance.
Well, think about the increasing sophistication of AI-generated content. We're already seeing AI being used to create incredibly realistic deepfakes. write news articles, even compose music that's indistinguishable from human-created works.
Okay. Yeah, we've all seen those videos online where it looks like someone famous is saying or doing something they never actually did. It's
Yeah.
getting harder and harder to tell what's real.
Exactly. And that raises all sorts of questions about authenticity, trust, and even the nature of creativity.
It's like AI is holding up a mirror to ourselves, forcing us to confront not just our relationship with technology, but also our understanding of what it means to be human. It's almost like AI is pushing us to ask some really big questions about ourselves.
It really is. We're not just talking about tools or algorithms here. It's about what it means to be human in the age of intelligent machines.
And maybe reassessing some of our assumptions along the way. Like, what does it even mean for something to be creative if an AI can write a novel or compose a symphony that moves us?
These are questions that philosophers and artists will be grappling with for years to come. But it's not just about the philosophical implications. There are also very practical, even urgent challenges we need to address right now.
Right, going back to those ethical dilemmas we were talking about earlier, it's one thing to have these abstract conversations,
Mm.
but how do we actually steer AI in a direction that benefits humanity? How do we make sure it doesn't exacerbate existing inequalities or create new ones?
It's a huge undertaking, and it's going to require a multifaceted approach. We need to be thinking about things like regulation, transparency, and accountability.
It's like rules of the road for AI
Mm.
to make sure it doesn't veer off course and cause harm.
Exactly. But it's not just about setting limits. It's also about fostering dialogue and collaboration between all stakeholders.
Between whom? Who are these stakeholders?
AI developers, policymakers, ethicists, and yes, even the general public.
Because we all have a role to play in shaping this technology.
Absolutely. The future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided in some secret lab or by some tech giant. It's a conversation we all need to be having as a society.
So what's our call to action then? If someone's listening to this feeling both excited and a little overwhelmed by all this AI talk, where do they even begin?
First, don't panic. It's easy to get caught up in the hype or the fear, but the most important thing is to stay informed and engaged.
Easier said than done when it feels like there's a new AI headline every 5 minutes.
True, but there are plenty of resources out there. Read articles, listen to podcasts, engage in conversations about these issues. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we are to navigate its complexities.
So no need to become an AI expert overnight. Just keep those curiosity circuits firing.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't just about understanding technology. It's about understanding ourselves and what kind of future we want to create.
Well said. That feels like the perfect note to wrap up on. This deep dive has been a wild ride, from exploring new battery tech to pondering the meaning of intelligence itself.
It's been a pleasure joining you on this journey.
And to our listeners, thanks for coming along for the ride. We hope you've learned something new, challenged a few assumptions, and maybe even come away with a few questions of your own. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those brain cells buzzing.